Hey, I'm Sam, welcome to Brickwall Pictures. Today I'm doing a James Gunn tier list. We have 9 James Gunn projects to rank, and let's just get started with these that are in a randomized order. We're starting off with Slither. Slither is a horror comedy, which I'd like to see James Gunn do more of those with like sci-fi elements too. Slither is a story that like feels familiar, but it's different enough that it feels fresh. It feels familiar enough to work as a parody of other like sci-fi horror movies while still like also serving as a worthwhile entry in that genre on its own. It's got some like fun ideas to it, some great gore, even a little bit of fun action towards the end. And it's really funny as well. That's the main thing. It's very funny. It's got a great cast. Michael Rooker is a standout in this, and of course Michael Rooker is an actor who James Gunn works with a lot. Michael Rooker is such a good actor, and so few people utilize him. James Gunn is one of the few people who utilizes Michael Rooker. So this is probably one of my favorite things that James Gunn has done. I'm kind of like between B and A on it. I haven't seen it in a while. I'm due for a rewatch. I'll probably rewatch it this October. I think I'm going to go B. Anyway, next up is Super. Came out, I think, at the exact same time as a Woody Harrelson movie called Defendor. And they're like the same movie. They're both about guys who are like, have like possible mental health issues who both decide to be like vigilante superhero guys and fight crime. Super, I am so conflicted on because like it's doing a lot of things that I like, but there's just something about it, I think tonally, like presentation wise, that it just feels really gross. And I get like bad vibes from it. And I don't exactly know what it is. I think it's all self-aware, but it's kind of like the humor in it it doesn't feel like dark comedy. It feels like mean-spirited comedy. And there's like a thin line between the two that I think Super lands on the wrong side of. I like the violence of it, but the violence again bridges into like that mean-spirited territory. It's like the presentation of it, the way Slither handles its gore, it like stays fun. The way Super handles its gore, it's like not fun. It's like graphic in a way that you can't like laugh with it, even though it's meant to be funny. It's like the presentation of it is too realistic almost for it to be funny for what's happening, kind of. I don't know. I'm conflicted on it. I like a lot of what it's doing and what it's trying to do, but I think the tone of it, which comes down to James Gunn's direction, I feel like if he directed it later in his career, he might be able to thread the needle on that tonal issue that I have. For me, it doesn't quite work, even though it's doing a lot well. I'm going to put it in D. I don't think it's like irredeemable. And it does have a lot going for a lot that's like worthwhile. Okay, Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't really talk about like the MCU movies on here because they're just not for me, not my cup of tea. Guardians of the Galaxy, I enjoy it. Part of it is just it doesn't feel at all like an MCU movie. Now, I say I enjoy it, but I haven't ever been impelled to check out the sequel or either of the sequels. I don't even know if the third one's out yet or not. I never saw the second one. I know the second one came out. Did not see that one. Like, I only saw this one because I had a couple friends who wanted to watch it, and I was like, okay, sure, I'll watch it with you. Like, I still probably would have now watched it on my own. But I had a good time. It's funny. And I will say, it feels like a James Gunn movie. It doesn't feel like a Marvel movie. And I mean that to his credit, because the MCU seems to have this knack for stripping away directors' identities. Like, I'm curious to see if Sam Raimi retains any of his directorial style with what he's doing in the next Doctor Strange movie or whatever, or if it just feels like another MCU movie. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't feel anything like a Sam Raimi movie. I'm probably not going to watch that movie anyway. I'll look at reviews and see if people are like, oh yeah, it feels like a Sam Raimi movie. I think I'd go C tier. And C tier is like a worthwhile movie for me. I don't know if everyone considers C tier the same thing. C tier is like good. C tier is, worth watching. Dawn of the Dead, the remake. James Gunn did not direct this one, but he did write it. He wrote it and then Zack Snyder directed it. It's the best thing I've seen from Zack Snyder as a director. I'm not much of a fan of him, but he's got a few movies I haven't seen. Like I never saw that Army of the Dead movie. Maybe that would change my mind. Kind of doubt it based on like what I've seen, but anyway, I do like his take on Dawn of the Dead. I think it's his best movie. It's also his like first movie, so maybe that says something about him. James Gunn's script is solid. I think it's just a solid zombie movie. Now, that being said, it doesn't hold a candle to the original Dawn of the Dead. The original Dawn of the Dead is a masterpiece, and if you saw my video Counting down my top 100 favorite horror movies. You know that Dawn of the Dead ranked extremely highly. I won't say exactly where. Instead, I will say go watch that video to find out where. The remake, I still think is very good, even though it's not like... The original is S tier. Remake, B tier probably. It's a solid zombie movie. One of the better zombie movies of like its decade, I would say. Okay, next up is Peacemaker, his latest project at the time of recording. It's a spin-off of The Suicide Squad, his like semi-reboot, semi-sequel, semi-alternate adaptation of Suicide Squad from earlier. Peacemaker is a spin-off that stars John Cena's character. Now, the thing with Peacemaker, I was hoping it would be good. They chose like the wrong character to follow in a spin-off. I would have rather followed any of the other characters from The Suicide Squad before this Peacemaker character, especially considering like he died in the movie and then they kind of retcon it in the opening of the show in a way that's like a little like, okay, you had to do that. I mean, he gets shot in the fucking throat and bleeds out on the ground, and then in the TV show they're like, oh no, it hit his collarbone and he's fine. It's like, okay, really though, did it? But did it really? But did it though? Did it hit his collarbone or did it shoot him in the fucking throat and kill him? Because I'm pretty sure that's what happened. The fact that he like lives through it kind of like hurts the ending of the movie now that I think about it. Because now it's like, oh, big deal. You missed, dude. The guy who never misses. You actually missed and he's fine. Idris Elba, whatever your character's name was. I kind of thought John Cena was the weak link in the movie. So, yeah, I would have rather them followed anyone else. Not that like the character's bad. The character's fun. I kind of just, I don't really like John Cena as an actor. I guess everyone else got sold on him as like a comedic actor. I have not been sold on him as a comedic actor. I feel like whenever a joke lands from John Cena being delivered, it's James Gunn's writing working in spite of John Cena, I think. I don't know why I don't like him. I feel like I cannot buy him as an actor. I just see John Cena. And I'm not like a wrestling person. Like I'm not even familiar with him from wrestling. I only know him as an actor. So it's not like I can't. It's not anything to do with that. I just don't find him a good actor. I just don't believe him in any role I've ever seen him in. And I just don't find him funny either. He's just like a buff guy. I don't know. I don't find him charismatic or entertaining, which is the detriment to the show because it's him very much front and center. I also kind of just think that like James Gunn's writing isn't in top form. And then you can't blame the guy because like he wrote the entire show and directed the entire show. Like it kind of feels like he had enough solid jokes for a movie and then they stretched it out into a series instead. And then there's a lot of filler in between. There's a lot of jokes that don't land in this. Like, in James Gunn's movies, most of the jokes land. This TV show is like maybe 20% of the jokes hit, and it's like 80% misses. So I felt that. A lot of it felt like bad, rambling improv. I don't actually think it was improv. I think it probably was scripted out, but it has that feel of improv where it's like a lot of air in there and a lot of meandering and like unnecessary wordage, stuff that you don't need in there that's just getting in the way of the jokes. Like every scene goes on for at least twice as long as it needs to. And I feel like that's a byproduct of trying to turn this into a TV show for instead of a movie. It feels like, oh, okay, so it's a TV show. That means every scene we're going to double or triple its length so that it stretches out into multiple episodes. There's also a lot of scenes that just like don't go anywhere. That like you don't need the scene in there. The side characters don't do a whole lot for me. Even if I like some of the side actors, like I like Robert Patrick as an actor. I like seeing Steve Agee. D tier. It's not bad. I think no one's in top form here. Okay, next up, Scooby-Doo. James Gunn made 2 Scooby-Doo movies. They feel very much out of place in the rest of his filmography, considering he's a guy who started off with like working for Troma and stuff, working with Lloyd Kaufman on the Troma properties. Scooby-Doo is a weird choice for him. These movies came out when I was a kid. I was in the target age range for them. And you know, I gotta say, I liked the first Scooby-Doo movie when I saw it as a kid. I have not seen it since I was a child, and I'm sure if I watched it, it would not hold up well. I'll try to rank this as a kid's movie. Like, if a kid were to watch this today, I think they'd enjoy it. I think it works for children. Matthew Lillard is a great Shaggy. It's a good cast all around, like Linda Cardellini, or is it Cardinelli? I never remember. I think it's Cardellini. She's a great Velma. The other two I don't really care about. I'm sure if I were to rewatch it, I'd be like, wow, this is awful. But as a kid's movie, I think it's okay. I'm going to leave it in C tier for now with like nostalgia goggles, I guess. I do remember the second one not being as good, but I still, as a kid, I watched it like multiple times, so it must not have been that bad. So I'll pop it in D. Okay, The Belko Experiment is another one that he wrote but did not direct. Instead, it was directed by, I believe his name is Greg McLean. He's an Australian filmmaker who made Wolf Creek, which is a movie that I have a very complex relationship with, where I think it does a lot well and a lot not well at all. I don't think Greg McLean is a great director. I think he's okay, but in this script from James Gunn, I'm pretty sure it's like an old script he'd written a long time ago, and it got like optioned or bought or whatever, and then never made for like years and years, and then it finally got like dug up out of a drawer. I think post Guardians of the Galaxy, like when James Gunn's a big name, they're like, oh, we have one of his old scripts. Let's get it made. We can put his name everywhere. Some people might even think he directed it because, like, in the marketing, they're very much pushing James Gunn because he's like the hot ticket name attached to it. The Greg McLean guy's not a hot ticket name, even if he did make a horror movie that has a cult following. It is an okay horror movie. It's got some good scenes, but not a good overall movie. The Belko Experiment, I feel like, is a case of mismatched director. I think if James Gunn directed it himself, it would be a lot of fun. I feel like Greg McLean missed the humor in the script. It feels like a case of James Gunn writing a movie that is like a black comedy, and then Greg McLean missing the comedy, like not getting the humor to it and playing it way too straight and like trying to make it like graphic and disturbing, but it's such a goofy premise that like trying to take it seriously is a fool's errand, I think. And also it's like, it actually kind of has the same issue as Super, so maybe it wouldn't work with James Gunn directing it either if he did the tone of Super, but it feels like too cynical for how goofy the subject matter should be. I feel like the script could be made into a really fun movie, but the tone just doesn't work. I think it's a D tier again, unfortunately. And last up we have The Suicide Squad, which is so weird that we're getting another Suicide Squad this quickly after that failed, abomination that was the other one. This one, I watched it for the tier list, and I was so surprised how much I enjoyed it. I liked it way more than I expected to. There's still a lot in it that I don't think works great. Just because like superhero movies aren't exactly my thing, but like some of them work for me. Like Kick-Ass works for me. Logan worked really well for me. And this is much more in line with that. As much as I don't really like John Cena as a comedic performer, I can buy him as like action guy, right? So that scene where him and Idris Elba are like competing to mow down as many people in creative ways, where they're like sneaking through the village and they're each just like going through all these different weapons. That is such a fun scene. That's like a highlight of the movie. The action's okay. I like how weird it is, like with the guy, Peter Capaldi's character with the weird things on his head and the crazy starfish at the end. I like how weird it gets. I love the shark character, and I love that he's voiced by Sylvester Stallone. That's really funny. Harley Quinn is okay, I guess. I like Margot Robbie, but I just don't really care about better than the other Suicide Squad, surely. But the sequence with like all the flowers and whatever, the animated sequence, that didn't really jive with me stylistically, but it's okay. I liked Idris Elba in the lead role. I think he's fun. I liked Michael Rooker in that opening. I really liked the opening sequence. I feel like it did Deadpool 2 did, where it built up the whole team and then killed them off immediately. This did that same kind of like trick. Also, the movie The Hunt kind of did that. Not the great Mads Mikkelsen The Hunt, the kind of mediocre The Hunt that had that was like all political controversy, which was stupid. That one's okay. And that one did a similar thing where it would like introduce a character and then kill them off immediately. So it's doing that. This did it very well. I think it's a fun trick. I loved Flula Borg in this. I didn't know he was in it. I was fun seeing him. I think he's a funny dude. I'm not too familiar with much of his stuff, but I've liked him when he popped up on like Harmontown and on like Conan O'Brien's podcast. I'm more familiar with him just from that. I don't actually know what his main thing is. I know he's like a DJ or whatever, but I've never heard his music. Or was he a YouTuber or something? I don't know. I haven't seen his YouTube stuff. That's what he's from. I did see a movie he was in called Buddy Moon at a film festival that I don't think ever got a wide release. That was okay. He was funny in it. The movie wasn't great. Anyway, I don't know why I'm talking so much about Flula Borg when he's such a tiny part of this. It was just fun seeing him. Oh, the Weasel was fun. That was fucking... I liked the Weasel. I think that was a good time. They could have done a little more with that, I guess. But, I mean, maybe it was good that they got rid of him so quickly because it could have overstayed his welcome, I guess. Lots of really funny stuff. I liked it way more than I expected to. I think I would go all the way to B tier, which, like, shocked me because just based on, like, my experiences with most superhero movies lately, just so burnt out on them, don't care about them. This one worked for me a whole lot better. So there's our tier list. We're very centralized, right in the middle of the thing here. I feel like I like James Gunn more than this tier list might indicate. I like his sense of humor and his like writing. I feel like he's got funny stuff. It's just like the movies that he puts together. I don't always love the overall package, but I do really like his sense of humor. His whole cancellation that happened was so stupid. It was a very clear-cut case of like the right trying to take out a guy on the left for bullshit, and somehow everyone like went with it for a time. It was so dumb. Thanks for watching. Check out my other tier lists. I got a shit ton of them at this point. I've been doing a whole lot of them. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. So long.